Respected chair of the webinar, Mr. Shankar Adhikari, the president of UN2 Nepal, Honorable Minister of Education and Science and Technology, Honorable Giriraj Mani Pokhrel, Dr. Amiya Kumar Mohanty, President of All Federation of Teachers Union, all the guests and educationists, participating members, it's my pleasure to be here with you in this very important and far-reaching projects and to share my view with you on behalf of the chair of Nepal Communist Party, NCP, in this highly intellectual body and on this very sensitive and very delicate issue of COVID-19 and its impact of education and education professionals. The pandemic spread of novel coronavirus has significantly disturbed every aspect of human life along with educational system. As we know, 1.6 billion children across 191 countries have been severely affected by the closure of this educational institution, Our country is also badly affected by the alarming spread of the virus. Our educational institutions have to incorporate innovative technologies as distance and online education is dependent on technological facilities, including internet and Wi-Fi. We have to manage to develop the access of internet as much as it is possible. Educational institutions have been closed for almost 6 months. To limit the undesirable impacts of the pandemic on these learning opportunities of children, we have two strategies. Firstly, the spread of COVID-19 has adversely affected the educational facilities that has to be limited, leading to school closure. Secondly, the continuity of learning had to be ensured through preparing and pre-position of resources, internet, TV, and so on, which can be used by children at home. All distinguished guests, educationists, and teachers, we have to manage to pick up the technology for the solution to tackle this crisis and should remember to create an equitable and accessible process for all. The current pandemic through a horrible situation to be in still present opportunities to empower parents as teachers, and many reveal that children can be educated without actually being schooled. Finally, I humbly request you all intellectual circle, please share the ideas to facilitate learners and learning activities in this crisis. We know that the loss of schooling erodes the social glue that holds together everyday's life. So we all have a challenging but vital job during this situation. We must have plan and motivation to continue and deliver our mandate. I am really thankful to share the crisis and challenges with the intellectual circle like you. We need to go together to achieve the goal. We all share stakeholders' role is obviously significant to face the crisis. All the intellectuals and teachers, as we all know that we are passing through a very historic period in our country, Nepal. As we have already seen the tremendous political changes and tremendous political upheaval during last decades. And we are passing through a very challenging job of creating a base for socialism. Therefore, this kinds of pandemic, ultimately, we should have to use this opportunity to create the atmosphere for socialism, as our constitution has already been proposed. Therefore, although this is a very challenging job, this is very negative things, but we should have to change this negative into positive, this challenge into opportunities, and this kinds of interaction and discussion will create a very conducive atmosphere to have a higher level of understanding for social order, new social order. It has already been proved to very much extent, as I understand, that old system has basically failed. We should have to create a new social order, new system, political system, institution. All this education, health, and other issues should be addressed according to the necessity of the time. Therefore, I again want to thank all of you to have this very important interaction on this very sensitive and delicate issue. I wish every success of your interaction. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We are very happy. The valued speech of our great leader, our 21st visionary, Comrade Prachanda. We all the participants and leaders, our guider, we thanks to him. We are very happy to give us the valuable time as a busy time. So thank you for this valuable speech. Now I would like to request.
I want to, I am another assigned to other comrades. Therefore, thank you very much, and wish you every success in your endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wishing us our program successful, dear Comrade Prachanda. We have managed a 2-session program in our program schedule. That is session first, and the next one is session second. Now two guests are wishing our program successful after this program, after chairman's speech, after chairman's wishing. Now, hello. Now I would like to request a seat our glorious leader, Gundaraj Lohani, the former president of ANTO. The former president of ANTO, Gundaraj Lohani, I would like to request to take a seat. And now I would like to give the time for the program successful. Honorable Education, Science and Technology Minister, respected leader, standing committee member of Communist Party of Nepal, Giriraj Mani Pokhrel, to wish the program successful.
Okay, Honorable Minister, please, it's up to you. You have already been updated as the co-host role. Please continue, go on. It's up to you.
I would like to request Education, Science and Technology Minister.
Thank you. Mr. Chairperson of a Grand Virtual Program, Shankar Adhikari. Respected Chief Guest, the Chairman of the Nepal Communist Party and ex-Prime Minister Comrade Prachanda, special guest, member of the Standing Committee of Nepal Communist Party, Comrade Mani Thapa, renowned scholars, teacher leaders, all invitees within the country and from neighboring countries, stakeholders and the participants, teacher friends. At the outset, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the organizer for initiating virtual conference on the impact of COVID-19 on education and teachers, and giving me an opportunity to share my views. Indeed, I feel greatly privileged to learn the cross-country scenarios of the effect of the COVID-19 in the education sector and exploring better alternatives to continue the learning with safeguarding the basic norms and values of education even in critical time. We all are crystal clear that the entire world is being suffered and troubled by COVID-19, a pandemic. Each and every aspect of national lives have been badly affected. The entire humanity is being psychologically tortured along with posing threat to human existence. In this worsening situation, education cannot be an exception. I am confident that the program like this will be instrumental for the better management of the COVID-19 crisis with reference to the refined ideas of the high-level intellectuals. I believe this highly intellectual virtual gathering will definitely produce novel and constructive ideas which will help us to continue our educational and pedagogical phenomena without causing any harm on human health. As we know, as Shankarji and Nimmadurji already mentioned, 1.6 billion children across 191 countries have been severely affected by the pandemic. All the educational institutions have been closed for a long time. Our country is also badly affected by the alarming spread of the virus. Our educational institutions have to incorporate innovative technologies and pedagogical implications, as distance and online education is dependent on technological facilities, including internet and Wi-Fi and other alternative mode of the learning. At this point in time, I am pleased to mention that the Ministry for Education, Science and Technology has been trying its best to cope up with this problem, incorporating every positive support and suggestions from the stakeholders. During the time, we have been heavily engaged in developing a legal foundation for the alternative learning, develop the learning materials and deliver them through online and offline mode. You know, while that educational institutions have been closed for almost 6 months, this is a bitter fact. To limit the negative impacts of the pandemic on the learning opportunities of children, we have to follow fundamental strategies. Firstly, the spread of COVID-19 through education has to be controlled. Secondly, the continuity of learning has to be ensured through preparing and preposition of resources, for example, the internet, TV, and so on, which can be used by children at home. All distinguished guests and teacher friends, it is our utmost duty to manage and utilize the technology to tackle this crisis. We are to create an equitable and accessible process for educating all learners despite our limited budgeting and resources. Anyway, I would like to assure you that we have been working with certain action plan. The preparation of condensed curriculum is one of them. It is going to be implemented soon. We are not going to collapse this very academic session, since some countries of the world have already announced that they have collapsed this academic session. There is no doubt that the current pandemic has created a horrible situation to all of us. Still, it provides opportunities to empower parents as well as teachers and may reveal that children can be taught and facilitated without actually bringing them to schools if the existing circumstance demands. Distinguished dignitaries, I take this opportunity to share the major theory of changes we have been adopting to continue the education in crisis situation, pursuing with not to losing the academic session, preparation of legal guidelines and clear procedures, customized curriculum with safeguarding the core intents, allocation of additional budget, development of ICT-based learning materials, effective delivery of the lessons through the alternative modes, ensuring accessibility of online and offline learning materials to the learners, localized planning management of education, schools and teachers accountability towards the students learning with having autonomy to adopt the flexible delivery approaches, the best utilization of ICT, homeschooling, promoting parental support, volunteer mobilization, flexible learning assessments, and shared responsibility among the three tiers of government are the fundamental principles to move forward the education in the unprecedented crisis. As such, chain of the accountability is crucial. The federal government is facilitating the whole education system with policy, program, and resources. Similarly, provincial government expected to take responsibility to coordinate and provide the technical and financial support to the local levels. The local government as a main actor need to ensure the right to education with tangible actions. Eventually, schools and teachers must be accountable towards entire learning of the students with respecting their social status, individual differences, learning ability, and needs. I believe among the whole system, teachers are the major actors and are autonomous to adopt the appropriate pedagogical approaches to deliver the curriculum despite many challenges. Finally, I humbly request you all scholars, invitees within and outside the country, teacher leaders, stakeholders, intellectuals, for your ideas to facilitate learners and learning activity in this huge crisis. So we all have a challenge, but crucial task to perform during this pandemic. We must have a plan and a motivation to continue and deliver our mandate. I am really thankful for this opportunity to share ideas in this dignified gathering. We need to go together to achieve the goal. We all stakeholders' role is obviously significant to face the crisis. Finally, I would like to extend my best wishes for the successful completion of this program. I believe the output of this program could be a valid reference for Nepal to enhance the ongoing activities of entire education initiatives.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chairman of this program, Mr. Shankar Adhikari, Chief Guest, Chairman Prachanda, Honorable Education Minister Giriraj Modi Pokhrel, and the President of FISE, Amiya Kumar, and all the distinguished guests from different parts of the world and different parts of our country as well. I would like to say good afternoon to all in totality, and I would like to share my short presentation in this highly intellectual forum. Okay, this is my very short presentation. The title is Impact of COVID-19 on Education and Teachers. This is short presentation with reference to Nepal and the world. This is my structure of presentations. I will share some data about COVID-19 and its status of infections as a global pandemic. And I will share some data on impacts to school teachers and the students globally. And I will share some overview of national initiation of alternative mode of educating children with reference to Nepal. And I will share some discussion on the impact of COVID-19 to modern education. And I will share some discussion, some logic, some points about the possible future scenarios in education and our role. This is my limitations I want to share in the beginning. This is just the opening presentation for wider discussion and debate in this highly intellectual international forum. This presentation will not be focused on the technical aspect of COVID-19. Neither it shares more about the data or information of educational impacts, but it tries to explore the major issues of education of our time and explore two future issues two future scenarios for further discussion between us. It is not academic presentation, it sounds more activism for public education. I will share the content very briefly, and finally, I will be more radical. Finally. This is thus everyone knows that COVID-19 is infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome. This is coronavirus, and it was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. Till now, it might be little older data, 216 countries, including different territories and areas, has been covered. COVID-19 confirmed cases are nearly 3 crore, and confirmed deaths are nearly 10 lakhs. Conspiracy theorists are observing it as the game of big powers of global politics and medical market. However, there is difference in narration between inside the system and outside the system. Conspiracy theorists have privilege to question because they are free from being accountable to the system. What is the effects of education? I want to share something. This is the data everyone share. This is the latest data till now. Due to the closure of education institutions, 1.55 billion schools and colleges and youth have been affected. It is total 90% of the world students population of 190 countries. According to UNESCO data, 100 countries have not yet announced a date for school reopen. 65 have plans for partial or full reopening, while 32 will end the academic year online. For 890 million students, however, the school calendars have never been so undefined. This is sourced from the UNESCO, UNICEF, and the World Bank. However, the latest data shows that 40% students are getting opportunity to learn through alternative ways, and 60% are still out of such opportunity. And 80 to 19 million teachers and education professionals around the world have been affected. Definitely, such school closures has created so many negative effects in the education. It has disturbed academic calendars, career path of students, increases crimes, increases low learning achievements, increases dropouts, etc. Not only the academic loss, it has high social, economic, educational, emotional effects. Poor, disadvantaged, and the working class people have severely effects from it. I don't explain, I just share my points. Most of the countries closed down the schools, but some countries like Singapore, Sweden, Brazil, and Australia keep their schools open as a kind of strategy to contain this infection. Few among these countries, especially Brazil, experienced the worst conditions of pandemic comparatively. Effects of Nepal. In Nepal, 35,000 plus schools, 500,000 plus teachers, and more than 90 lakh students, including schools and universities, have been affected. Most of the medium and high class private schools of Nepal are using online to continue their teaching learning engagement. Alternatively, on the other side, such practice is comparatively very less in public school, though they are trying some alternative measures. One data source indicates that only 30 to 50% of total students of public school of Nepal have the access to basic infrastructures for alternative type of education, that is online type of education. Teachers, especially of private schools, are being jobless. According to teacher union source of Nepal, more than 2,000 teachers have been already left the profession. Owners are refusing to pay salaries on time. Some of them are partially paid. Some voices have been listened publicly in Nepal about the salaries of government schools teachers as well. Such voices are about to cut their salaries and use in pandemic fund. Such voice is also about to mobilize teachers, public school teachers, in preventive role during this crisis. What Ministry of Education is doing, I want to share some points. Ministry of Education, Science and Technology of Nepal has introduced Directives for Learning Facilitation 2077 few weeks back, and it is in implementation from 17 September 2020. This directive has brought some ideas that it allows to use the alternative methods of learning like through radio, TV, online, offline, project or self-study, distance and open learning. And it has the plan to recognize the knowledge gained from all these mediums through evaluation and certification finally. It allows to reopen a school to some extent with following health protocols historically. It has also widened the roles and responsibilities of 3 layers of government and other key stakeholders of education. At the same time, it has also clearly spoken about the authority of fee collection with due reference to private schools. It has also created some confusions to some extent. Affects. Although Education Ministry has also released the same type of facilitation directives for learning through alternative ways in last June 2020, but that was observed less effective because of many reasons. Some of reasons were lack of access to digital device or technology and lack of knowledge and skills to use them. Unclear roles and responsibilities of governments and the stakeholders were also the reasons. However, we do hope its effectiveness in future. The main point of my presentation is coming. This is the first point. I want to share the future scenarios of education. And the first scenario is, we have 2 scenarios I am observing. First scenario is readjustment of current modern market-based capitalist English British American system, whatever we term it, through adopting more open and flexible education system in terms of structure, system, methodology, pedagogy, evaluation, and certifications. This is the first scenario. Second scenario is deconstruction of current education system to the socialist forms of new education system. To me, socialist form of education is to shift the education, its system and structures as the property of society or community, not of market. Not of market, capitalist, corporate houses, or global networks of liberalism. It is the public education in totality. At least the term public education has more characteristics of socialist forms of education. To me, social forms of education is to make the school as a greater integral part of community and make the society as the greater school. This connectivity ultimately creates the better society to live for the mankind. I want to share the possibility of first scenario. First scenario means go back before COVID-19 with some flexible and open forms of education. I want to share the possibilities. It has very high possibility. Almost the global entities, authorities like UNESCO, UNICEF, World Bank are trying to revive the education system through reopening school at the stage of before COVID-19. It only maintains the status quo in education system. Or at least current education system of the world may adopt the more open and flexible system of education, adopting information technology. However, the essence will be the same, that is market-based liberal education. This system again will mainly serve the liberalism. Moreover, this information technology-based education system will further make the gaps between the classes digitally. Quality of education for people without access to digital device and technology and people with digitally equipped will be different. Before COVID, language was the key factor of such gaps, and now access to digital device and skills of using technology will divide the class and widen the gaps in between. In this scenario, whole of education business and development engagement will be shifted into technology business in education. Possibility of second scenario. I want to say possibility of second scenario. This is move radically. COVID-19 has created the opportunity for working class people or the representatives of working class to move for historical breakthrough. It depends on how the political economy of the world changes in coming days. COVID-19 has created the world economic structure and the relationship between them very fragile and liquid. This global scrimage, which has been observing between the supreme powers of the world, it is not just a conflict simply for resources or political or military power. but it is mainly the war of finding new ideology to govern the mankind in new future. Have capitalism, socialism, communism, or mix of them are the broader ideology of political economy. Future of education, not only the future of education, but all the social spectrum of our time will be determined by the coming new governing ideology of the world, which will come within the contradiction of the present. COVID-19 has explored the contradictions of governing ideology of present, that is capitalism, and accelerated the crisis to the peak. It is clear that at least present capitalism will adopt the more and significant characters of socialism and can make it its age a little longer. Such adaptation will ultimately revise the education system accordingly. This will be the new education for the coming world. I have two references which give the points to the number two scenarios. One, among the 2,094 billionaires, only 54 have publicly announced financial contribution to fight COVID-19, and almost others are using their money to support their own companies. Among the 54 billionaires, 44 have contributed below 1% of their net worth. 4 billionaires contributed 1% plus of their net worth. 3 billionaires contributed 2% plus of their net worth. Exceptionally, single billionaire Jack Dorsey has contributed 1 billion, that is 27.74% of his net worth. He is exceptional. Bill Gates, who have huge investment in finding vaccine for COVID-19, has donated just 0.28% of his net worth, and 50 wealthiest people, richest people in America have donated their 0.1% of combined net worth. Single Nepalese, I have sharing some points and I will make some conclusion. Single Nepalese billionaire Chaudhary Group has just donated nearly $100,000. Our big private schools were lost for a long time during lockdown, just has appeared in media to collect the fee from parents when the Education Ministry released the protocol for alternative mode of educating children recently. Mukesh Ambani, with a net worth of 89.1 billion, has donated just 510 crore rupees, Indian rupees. It is just for symbolic fact. I am sharing just for symbolic fact to explore how the billionaires of big corporate houses contribute during the crisis in society, today's society. Please note it, 26 billionaires have the net worth of the total property of half population of the world. 26 billionaires hold the half property of half population of the world. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has a net worth of 116.1 billions. Gates' net worth is greater than GDP of 140 countries. This man, interestingly, the first billionaire president of America, has just donated $100,000. That is equivalent to his 4-month salary. This is the 0.005% of his net worth. This man, the head of Amazon, the richest man of the world, is asking fund from the people for the Amazon Relief Fund. This fund goes for the contract workers, contract employee who shops his products, delivery his products to the people. What I am saying, what this reference shows, this reference will convince the people on the idea that only the state is the protector for the working class or general people in such crisis, not the private. Rather, private sector opened its eagle eye to earn the profit during the pandemic as well. There is more chance to accumulate such convictions among the people globally. If it happens, new thesis will be emerged, that is, state the first, community or society the first, and the market, which has been weakening the state or state apparatuses and the whole system since the 4-5 centuries, will lose its strength gradually. or it might be, or it may adopt the new strategy to prolong its empire as it was doing during its big crisis. If such thesis is established, the age of public education comes, and the public education is more closer to socialist type of education. I want to share the second point to support the second scenarios. Point one, this is the modern education system. It has the structure, school, college, universities, certain rules and regulations, teaching, learning, engage activities, exam, grading, certifications. These all are the components of modern education. This is English education. This is the British education. This is the factory-based education. Teachers are known as the pool of knowledge and students receive knowledge from them. These are the characteristics of existing modern education system. But these modernist features of education has been gradually replacing by the postmodern and the digital form of education. Science, technology, and the economy has been already entered to digital age, but our education system is still more traditional. We say it modern, but it has been traditional now. Just after COVID-19, we are searching the new forms of education. Therefore, this reference also allows the significant changes in current education system itself. Second is, modern education system has so many weaknesses in itself. It has been more individualist and unfair in totality. It has been more commoditized, and big corporate houses are capturing modern education, and ultimately it has been capturing the public education and the public space as well in broader sense. Ultimately, weaknesses and the contradictions of within the current education system will explore the new way out, at least to readjust system in new forms. I have just shared the two references of our big critical pedagogue of our time. That is Paulo Freire. Paulo Freire terms this education system as the banking education system. He has narrated some points which reflects the weaknesses of present modern education system. That is, teacher teaches and students are taught. Teachers knows everything and students are nothing. Teachers thinks and students are thought about. Teachers talk and students listen. Teacher disciplines and students are disciplined. Teacher chooses and enforces his choices and students follow. Teacher acts and students have the illusion of acting through the action of teachers. Teachers chooses the program content and students adopt it. And teachers is the subject of learning process, while the pupils are merely objects. This is the contradictions, or this is the representation of suppressive mode of modern education systems. Another John Hall says, children are fail. Why do they fail? They fail because they are afraid, bored, and confused. These modern education systems only creates the fear, has made the bored to the pupil, and it has made the confused to the students in broader sense. However, there are positive aspects of modern education as well, but I am not talking about it now. It is the time to hit the weaknesses of our current education system and change it to better. I am not saying that modern school has no any benefits to the mankind, but there are positive aspects as well, but there are negative aspects, and it is the time to revise the modern education system and search for better in coming days. And finally, our choices. Whether we go back to COVID-19 with some little open and flexible characters in education system, maintaining the status quo, or do we make some move market-based education system? Let's move for the second choice. Let's move for the second choice. Let's be united intellectually and institutionally. This is my thank you all.
Namaskar, everyone. This is the Padam Simkhada from UK. I'm talking from the UK now. Respected Chairman Shankar, Chief Guest, although they're gone, and then special guest, Honorable Minister of Education, Science and Technology, other guest, and my respected teacher, and also the guest, the Vice Chancellor of Open University, Leknath Sir, Abhayji, Chandra Bahadur, although he has to go to the hospital, Churaji, Rishiramji, Kalpanaji, Lagat, Sampurna, and all the friends. So it's my pleasure to be here. Although I'm not the educationist, I'm more sort of public health researcher, but it's my pleasure to be here today and share and make a comment on some of the issues that you discussed earlier. I think a lot of things has been covered. I think that I just want to highlight a few things. I think Dr. Baral has nicely summarized the issues, and I think there is a two direction for us, for the world to go at the moment. Either we go to the continue as a capitalist, so-called capitalist model of education system, or whether we move to and then more sort of socialist type of education system. But there's a one is a probably, I agree with him completely. There is a one is the realistic sort of the idealistic education system we all want. At the same time, there is issues about the realistic type of education, what the world is going, how the world is moving. I think that's quite important in terms of education system. I just want to highlight this, some of the both the challenge, opportunity that we have in the different education system. And then COVID has, I think there's so many impact on the COVID in the people's life. I mean, you, majority of the audience today, I can see that you are the teacher, you are the change maker. I'm also the teacher in the university. And then for the teacher, I think there's a, if you look globally in Europe, Europe is also not doing great in the response to the COVID. And then one of the things that teach us in terms of managing the COVID is that what is the important things to deal with this sort of problem? Is that the capital that we need, or is that, for example, COVID, what's the important? Do we need more doctor to deal with the COVID? Or do we need a good hospital, better hospital, more doctor to deal with the COVID? Or do we need the more sort of money to deal with the COVID? What do you think is the important? I mean, I'm the researcher on global health. The things that we have been teaching for our students is, okay, if you need to provide the good health for the people, you need a doctor, you need a nurse, you need a good hospital, you need the basic sort of the infrastructure. People need to be rich, continue to be rich. Look at now, the richest country in the world, America, has the highest and worst hit by the COVID. If you look at Europe, and then I live in UK, and then if you look at the UK is one of the best healthcare system in the Europe, probably in the world, because its health system is free here. And look at this, the UK is one of the worst hit country by the COVID. So what is the important? This COVID has to teach us such an important lesson for us. So what is the important things that matter? Is a right policy in the right time. If you don't have a right policy in right time, you cannot deal the problem like this. So it's not just about the money. It's not just about the human resource. It's not just about the infrastructure. There is a beyond that, there is something else, which is the right policy in right time. I think that this COVID had teach us that apply to all the sector. I just want to give the one example how and why the socialist model of health system can work. Then I want to highlight what are the challenges we have. If you look the health system, because I'm a researcher on global health. If you look the health system in Cuba, the government spent $300 per person per year on the health system. If you look the not far from Cuba and the richest country in the world, USA, they spend $16,000 per person per year. $300 compared to the 16,000, 300 versus 16,000. If you look at the health outcome, some of the important indicator of the health system, for example, infant mortality rate, obesity rate, maternal mortality rate, mental health problem is worse in America. It's much better in Cuba because there is a less hierarchy among the healthcare and the general population. healthcare is equally distributed, and it's better. I'm not promoting Cuba as a political region, but I'm giving the example that how the policy is important even you are poor, and that apply to the education. If you look at COVID, I mean, we can now predict some of the possible scenario because the world economy is shrinking. One of the things either in the national level or in the local level or in the international level, the first cutoff point would be the education, because the spending on education will go down even after this COVID because of the world is in the recession. And then if you look the data from the developed country, the GDP is already 6% shrink. It's a down by the 6%, means that there is a more likely. This COVID in Europe has huge impact. If you look this, the student mobility is stopped. A lot of people are at the university or the school. It has huge impact. But if you look the changing and then the opportunity, how we can take this opportunity and then challenge in Nepal. I think you as a teacher, you as a strong organization would deal with the teacher. I would kindly request you, I think the way we teach is going to be changed. We have to change. If you look at what is the powerful things in the world, we sometimes call it the fourth industrial revolution. What is that fourth industrial revolution? Is a more sort of digitalization of the world. And if you look the example, Dr. Baral already presented some of the successful people in the world, richest people. If you look this profile, who are the richest people in the world? People who do the business on Amazon and online. People who run the Facebook, people who run the Twitter, people who run the Zoom. This one, the thing we are having a meeting, they are the richest people. So who are the more powerful people in the world? And which country would be the more powerful? Is those countries who are now setting up this IT structure. The knowledge would be the more powerful and the data would be the more powerful. Yesterday, I read the Kantipur and they're written by one of the former finance minister, the Surendra Pandey. I would like to read that article in Kantipur. And he clearly identified some of the issues. And that's absolutely true so the richest people in the world and the powerful people in the world would be the people who hold the data, who hold the intelligence, who have the information, not the army. People who have an army will not be a richest powerful country in the world anymore. So the powerful country would be who control all this data, who control and then can plan these things, can man these things. So we cannot, as a teacher, we cannot go away. And I was reading the one survey in Nepal, the only 1% teacher in public school are comfortable to run the internet. How can we expect that they can deliver, or we as a teacher can deliver the online education system to our children? So now the teachers organization need to think about it. How can we effectively deliver? How can we develop the capacity of our school teacher? And then I'm glad that the Professor Leknath sir is here. I think this now, the training for our teacher needs slightly different. I think probably Open University can plan the course program where we can train our teacher. We need a refresher training for our teacher, not only in UK. I teach in one of the best university in the world, and 60% of our teachers are not confident to deliver even the university. And that's why it's not unusual things. The things are moving. My message is now, you as a professional organization, as for the right of the teacher, we need to move more on the professionalism. That is one of the motto as well. We need to move as a more sort of more professionalism. We need to develop the capacity of our teachers so that they can provide the best experience to our staff. Without developing the capacity, and not only the teachers' capacity, I think as a national government, we need to, as I said, the powerful things in the world would be the country that adopt the digitalization, that adopt the IT infrastructure, that hold the data, that move on that direction. So the data knowledge is such an important time now. The way that we are thinking in this century is, I think the IT literacy is most essential for everyone. Investing on the IT infrastructure in the country, school is the most essential. I think our argument, our fight would be how can we make this school so that not only in the COVID time, even after the COVID, without that infrastructure, our student cannot compete around the world. It's such a globalized world. We cannot probably we cannot now, the Lekhna sir nicely mentioned earlier that there is no way that we can fight if we develop our capacity, if we don't develop our capacity nicely. Until and unless we don't develop our capacity and become more stronger in the changing society, in the changing context, then only we can be a competent and competent. We cannot stop people moving from one country to other. We cannot do that moving on that direction. So the only way of moving this direction is develop the capacity. To develop the capacity, I think we need to think that. And then the last but not the least, I would like to request all the school authority teachers that when do we open the school? In UK, the government opened the school, and then, but now because of the second wave, it might close. But there are a few things that we need to follow that procedure. We need to go through that. Is that the health and safety of teachers, health and safety of parents, health and safety of students is quite important. That need to be a priority. And also there are a number of things that we need to think. I think every problem gives the problem, but it also gives the opportunity. I think we should take that as a COVID as an opportunity. And as Baral highlighted, it's a time to rethink. Time to rethink in terms of how we train our people. It's a time to rethink about what are the key essential skill teachers need. Sometimes there is a misconception that doing the class on the Zoom is online teaching. It's not. That's not online teaching. If we are moving to the online teaching, it's a method, it's a different pedagogy, it's a different, how we assist the student different, how people learn online is different. So we need to learn that. I mean, everybody need to learn that. I think you as a teachers organization, if you invest your energy on how to develop the capacity of the teacher, how to develop the IT infrastructure of our now demonstration in Kathmandu, Ratnapak, and also finally, I know the teacher are the main change maker in Nepal. Most of the politicians now came from the teachers background, including our chief guest today. But I think,
excuse me, Professor.
It's a time we need to think how to be a professionalism. With that word, thank you again. Thank you, Shankar, for inviting me, and Prakash Simkhadabhai, who make this link with this great organization. I'm pleased to be a part of you, and I'm really pleased to be here. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my few words. And good luck for the rest of the day.
Comrades of all over the world, I'm very much pleased to be with you in this Zoom meeting. And I apologize to you because I could not join with you from the beginning because as I informed Comrade Rishi, I'm far away from our central city, Colombo. I had a pre-scheduled meeting in our northern part of our country. I'm away from somewhat kilometers, 600 and 700 kilometers away from Colombo. Anyway, I'm very much pleased to be with you in this evening. And as we all know, we know that now because of this COVID-19, we are passing a very hard time. I think most of the speakers should have concentrated on this. Anyway, this COVID-19 pandemic has distanced us. Otherwise, we should have been in Nepal at this moment. If we could be there, we should have been very happy. Anyway, at least if we could meet you in this Zoom meeting, it's a pleasure for us. Anyway, it has affected this COVID-19 pandemic has affected our economy as well as the other sectors. The main sector, according to my view, is the education, because the education completely in Sri Lanka, for example, from March to August, nearly 5 months, completely education was halted. And due to this pandemic, especially in the countries like us, in Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, we all are recognized as developing countries, the developing countries students are the most affected students in the world, as I think, because they could not, of course, they could not, for example, in our country, they started online learning, but most of the students, they could not adhere to this online learning because they did not have internet connection, and they did not have smartphones, they did not have tablets, or they did not have any other sources to take this online education. So it was very much affected in education in countries like ours. So I think uh, we should think of other ways how to tackle this problem. We should think of forcing the governments how to tackle these problems. Now the government, they are not tackling this education problem. They all the problems, they keep the hands of the teachers, hands of the schools, hands of the teachers. So that is not good. The governments, they should take necessary actions to uh, solve these problems. And also, as one of our earlier comrades said, education, we believe very vehemently, we believe education is not for sale. You cannot sell the education. Education is not for sale. So anyway, the COVID-19 period, as the other commodities, education also had become a commodity. Those who had enough money, they could buy that. Those who did not have enough money, they could not buy it. So that is not fair. We cannot, anybody cannot agree with that. Anybody cannot agree with that. That is not that is not what we expect. So we should urge the government at least to facilitate all the students with these facilities. At least we should force, our countries, especially Asian countries, we should force our rulers to facilitate with the students this type of uh, commodities. So and also, I think in the present world, the education is facing very dangerous situation. That is big, not because of funds. They are always trying to sell the education. That is their policy. That is their policy. In our country also, they are always planning to sell the education. They want to give up the education, burden of education from their hands, from the governments. That is their policy. So all of us, those should against this. Otherwise they will sell everything. We know they are selling our water. We know they are selling uh, uh, everything. So likewise, they want to sell the education. We should fight against this. We should hand in hand determine to fight against this. What this COVID-19 pandemic teaches us that. It teaches us that truth. That is the truth. Whether we accept it or not, that's the truth. So we should fight against that. And also, as a class-based oriented union movement, the FISE, the World Federation is a class-oriented trade union movement, as well as the FISE, the World Federation of Teachers Unions, is a class-oriented trade union movement. So we should always keep up in our mind, these bourgeois governments, as they cannot solve any problem in our society, they cannot solve the education problem. That's the truth. That's the truth. Whether we agree or not, that's the truth. So we should admit that. Hence, in this very special meeting, in this very special meeting, I should urge all of you, we should hand in hand get together. We should all, as one class-oriented trade union movement, we should fight against all these bourgeois policies, all these neoliberal policies. Only in that way, that is the only way to overcome all of these problems. Of course, this COVID-19 problem, that also could be overcome if the world had more people-friendly governments. Most of the governments in our world, they are not people-friendly. They are not people-friendly. They are only thinking of their class, bourgeois class. That's why this COVID-19 pandemic, we had to face such a dangerous situation. So, urging that, in future, I hope we will be able to meet you, especially our Nepalese trade union, teachers union movements. I think we will be able to meet you. I was very eagerly thinking of that, to come to Nepal and meet you, and how to organize with the
I ask you permission to address this honorable assembly in Spanish. Later we will send the English translation to your email. Compañeros, en México la situación no es muy distinta que en los otros países del mundo. Aquí en nuestro país tenemos también graves problemas a causa de la pandemia COVID-19. Como maestros de la Coordinadora Nacional de Trabajadores de la Educación, hemos enfrentado graves situaciones. De las principales es que nuestro gobierno se dedicó a promover la educación vía televisión, vía TV, privilegiando este tipo de educación totalmente despersonalizada. La educación también vía internet, que se ha estado trabajando con los programas oficiales, ha sido enfocada más a lo remedial que al sistema educativo en sí. Los programas están aparte delimitados, carentes de toda formación. Los maestros de la Coordinadora Nacional de Trabajadores de la Educación en México logramos enfrentar con mucho éxito la reforma educativa en la cual se planteaba la privatización total de la educación. Derrotamos esa reforma, esa falsa reforma educativa, y sin embargo llega el COVID-19 y los maestros nos enfrentamos a la peor privatización que existe. Ahora la educación está únicamente en manos de quienes tienen para pagar la señal de Wi-Fi, la señal de internet o bien la televisión abierta. Cuando sabemos que miles de comunidades no cuentan siquiera con energía eléctrica, no cuentan con lo más indispensable en las familias. Esta situación la Coordinadora Nacional de Trabajadores de la Educación la ha enfrentado de una manera clara, mediante la creación de las cartillas educativas. Miles de maestros están expuestos hoy en día a contraer esta pandemia. porque siguen visitando a sus alumnos en sus comunidades, llevando cartillas educativas, llevando materiales de apoyo para el trabajo diario y cotidiano. Por parte del maestro Víctor Manuel Zavala Hurtado les hago llegar este mensaje. Nuestro secretario general, que fue anteriormente, ahorita ya tenemos otro secretario general, el profesor Gamaliel Guzmán Cruz. Esta coordinadora ha enfrentado los graves problemas incluso de despido de trabajadores y que bueno, haremos llegar a ustedes toda esta información ya en inglés porque bueno, pido disculpas por mi limitado inglés y quiero pedirles, compañeros, que nos solidaricemos. La FICE este año cumple 75 años, perdón, la Federación Sindical